Hello, Planet Sewers. How are y'all doing today? It's Mathletee here. We have Houston Zoo cougars have moved in. I haven't finished everything with the habitat yet. I didn't do any of the custom billboards that honor the University of Houston, since the University of Houston does use cougars as their mascot, and I believe they are partnered with the Houston Zoo. I'm not sure. But I did see a post the other day that it was, I think, Shasta's 10th birthday, who is the mascot for University of Houston. I went to University of Houston Clear Lake, so I believe at the time, hi Ruby, in 2006 when I graduated, we didn't have our own mascot back then. But anyway, enough about the Cougars of Houston and Houston Zoo. We have the Cougars of Planet Zoo and Houston Zoo. I was really trying to replicate the way they had their rock work done in these habitats. It was a very specific way, and the rock just didn't quite exist in the game as it did in the habitat. And I'm pretty happy with how it came out. I think I can go back and probably get rid of the repetitiveness a little bit better. I did try to kind of get rid of that, but I was going for this kind of real ledgy looking kind of rock work. I didn't want to use too big of a rock because it starts taking away from the habitat space, and I didn't want to do that either. I'm not sure if this habitat actually is good for them space-wise. I think so. There's a couple habitats in the zoo right now that are having some issues. So I've got to figure out their space issues and turn that back on before I can see if this actually works for them. So I was having some game issues. Some of them I think just have to do with the sandbox settings, and I always play with sandbox just like it's in franchise. So I've got to go take a look and see what I can do to be able to turn that stuff back on. We'll see. But I did notice as I was doing this, hey, this looks really cookie cutter. It's looking really funny. So I do go back. You'll see it in the speed build where I start deleting some, moving things around, and getting rid of that, obvious connection between these sets of rocks. I pull some out, I get rid of some, I delete some, I turn some, and then I go back around and I'm going to start sliding them left and right. I was really hoping that the hitbox on these with the rocks, that was the other thing I was trying to avoid by using anything bigger, I wanted the mountain lion, the cougar, either one is fine, to be able to kind of walk around on some of these ledges, because I did pull some out on the other side, and then I had to go back and change that a little bit so that they actually could use it. The hitbox, of course, was not as tiny as I'd hoped, so I had to create a little different space for them to actually walk around. And towards the end of the video, there's one that just does an amazing leap. I had no idea they could jump like that. I know they're good jumpers. Cats are good jumpers in general, but as far as in the game, I was really surprised to see that happen. They just did a big leap as I was following one around to get some screenshots. I didn't do a zoo walkthrough this time, just because I have a lot of kind of empty spaces. I wanted to get into the cougar here and do this habitat with the new DLC launch. And I think this week I'm probably gonna get into a different zoo and just build some habitats, because I want to check out all the other animals officially instead of my haphazard live stream that I did with the Houston Zoo last Monday, where I just threw some habitats down just to look at the animals, see how they behave, things that they do. Anyways, I did delete those habitats. I didn't keep them. So I think next week I'm gonna play around and just do some fun habitats I don't know, we'll see. Get some speed builds of just some simple habitats, not do any crazy things. So anyway, this is me trying to get that variation going in all these rocks instead of it just obviously looking like the same set over and over and over again. And there's where I kind of decided, oh, I should go left to right in two instead of just, pulling them out, deleting. So I go back and kind of look around to see where I can do that and try to get rid of that cookie cutter look that it had. I may still come back and add in a couple of flat rocks through here to kind of break up some of this. It just, didn't quite turn out the way I had hoped it would with making the rock sandwich here. But I do feel like it gets that mountain lion look, I guess, that they did have in the habitat. It's very finicky, trying to get that feel and that same, I guess, vertical horizon line of rock versus straight up and down, which seems to be how more of the rocks are done in the game. Their accents and things are more vertical versus the horizontal. I guess I could have turned some over, but again, I was worried about the hitbox and the other habitats nearby, so I didn't want to mess that up too much. So around we go, and I just made the basic 1-2 copy around all around the habitat, and then individually going into the groups and moving some things around so it looks a little more like it has variation. So looking at the traversable area for the animals, and I can see that I do have some issues. Like, I don't know how they were getting up there right here, but I can see that maybe, I guess they were jumping. Like, can they jump that high? But it was showing they could get to the top. So I was like, okay, we'll, look at that again. But I was really just trying to keep them, inside, away from the climbable fence there. And ultimately I did have to go in and turn on the anti-climb top here. Since I did not want to use the mesh here, I wanted to actually use the in-game barrier. That was the type of barrier the Houston Zoo has there. So I wanted to kind of keep that, a nice long piece instead of the separated, 4 meters that the game has. I love the mesh, don't get me wrong, but I definitely wanted a longer continuous piece right there. Sorry, my corgi just ran by and he has a new tag on his collar, so he is no longer as stealthy as he used to be. He jingles when he walks. We finally put his rabies tag onto his collar. He's had all of his shots for a while, but we just hadn't put the tag on. So just using that same rock setup through here, and I'm going to do the same thing, kind of scoot some around, push them forwards, push them backwards, get rid of a couple to get rid of that copied look, flipping some so that they're not all straight. Some have kind of an angle. I didn't worry about this side as much, but it was easier to kind of work from that side than the other side was, because I'm going to cover that. Nobody's going to really see it. That's going to be part of their covered shelter. And that was something else I noticed. I normally play sandbox with everything on, so I was really confused at what was going on with the shelter there. It's saying that each habitat that I go into, they only have 21% of hard shelter, so I think something's a little off maybe. I'm not sure, but I normally don't turn off any of the settings in the game. I typically leave them all on. I might temporarily turn them off. The only one I keep turned off is the escape, that they cannot escape, since I do build with a lot of null barriers. That just makes my life a lot easier since I'm not in franchise mode. But I do like to keep all the other settings on so that when I put these up on the workshop, I know that they are going to work for you guys if you are downloading them and putting them into a franchise zoo, that you're not going to need to edit or do anything to make the animal happy. As long as you have the research done and stuff like that, you should be able to place it and put your animal in and put your pass around it. That's kind of the idea. So I'm gonna have to go around and spend some time figuring out what's going on with specific animal habitats. Some of them are newer ones, because I took the meerkats out and I put prairie dogs in on my live stream on Monday, and I took the seals out and put the sea lions in. So we do have 3 of those animals in the zoo. So next week we'll walk around and we'll look at everybody's habitats. Right here I'm trying to figure out how to get them back up here because I put that barrier on the edge and it took away their ability to get up there. Had I realized at this time that they can jump the way they can, I would have just scooted that barrier back some instead of building what I built, but that's okay. This works too. We can give them a ramp. They don't have to just jump up there. But anyway, yeah, so hopefully I'll get the zoo back to where I can turn all my settings back on so I can ensure that I'm making habitats that I can put up for you guys. So this one will be available eventually. I just I need to put it into a different zoo so that I can make sure it's big enough for cougars and it has everything that they need so that you don't need to do any editing once you put your cougars in. So maybe I'll do that tonight, hopefully. I wanted to get the video out first so that you guys could see the progress for Houston Zoo. I think next week, I'm not sure what animal I'm going to do yet. I don't think there's one more North America animal that's in this zoo. I know for sure that was in the pack, which is the alligator, because they have the Texas wetlands area. But I haven't started building on that side of the zoo yet. I would need to build a, I forget what it's called, but something circle. Basically, it's just a big restaurant to eat at that is near the Texas wetlands. So I would need to get that in as a reference point. So the zoo's just not quite ready for the alligators. And I don't think that the zoo has any beavers or any moose, but I think I'm going to use the moose anyway. They do have, I know it's not a cow, but there aren't any cows in the game at all. So I think I'm going to use the moose for the special type of cattle that they had. I don't remember what it was. I know it had horns, kind of like a longhorn, but it's not a longhorn. But anyway, I may just put the moose over there for now, and that'll be fun. But I know there's no Arctic fox, sadly, because they are so cute. And I'm thinking about the other animals that were in the pack. I don't think that the Houston Zoo has all of those. So we'll see how that pans out. But as far as the next habitat, what are we going to do next week? I haven't fully decided yet, so it may just be a surprise. I may go back and start the rest of the primate world because I kind of changed gears when the DLC came out and did this one instead of doing that. So I guess that's probably what I'll do next is go back over there and finish off the World of Primate walk, and then we'll start finishing off this section of the zoo. So it'll be a while before we get to the alligators. So that's why I was thinking about just doing a couple of quick little fun habitat builds to put up on the workshop. I can't talk. For you guys, as well as just get a look at all the animals. This week was a pretty busy week at my job. We're doing a conversion of a lot of our systems. And then also, we just celebrated, my husband and I, our 5-year anniversary. So that was important too, to go spend some time together. So I didn't have as much time to play the game and check everything out that I normally would. So this week, I'm going to try to get some of those animals, some habitats out on the workshop for you guys, like I said. And if you didn't get a chance to check out the St. Louis Zoo, which is my live stream series, I did add animal seating to my sea lion sound habitat that I've been working on. I was super excited how that turned out. So go check that out if you have a moment. And right now what I'm doing is testing different rocks to use to build the shelter for them, because I saw that it wasn't registering the shelter. I checked the settings. It's not supposed to be caring about shelter right now, according to the sandbox settings. Maybe I just needed to reload into the zoo after messing with settings, but I was like, well, I'll go ahead and put it in. They're gonna have it for the people and the animal. We're gonna do that. So I was getting that put in, but I noticed once I finished it, it still said that it was, only 21% coverage. And like I said earlier, noticed that several other habitats are saying the same thing about the coverage. So I'm not really sure what's going on with sandbox settings. So hopefully when I load back into the zoo, I can figure that out. And maybe it'll have fixed itself by then. And I've accidentally boxed an animal there. I messed with their path, I guess. They were going to get up on that log, and I decided I wanted to do the log a little bit differently. I was hoping that they would meet a lot prettier than they do, but I just found a spot where the connection wasn't so obvious. And now I've got them where they can get up on top of that. Good grief. So they do have an area where they can hide above the people and not be seen in case they're feeling a little too watched. I also think I'm going to go in and put in some one-way glass right there, since I did kind of put their sleeping shelter right there where there is not one-way glass, it's two-way. So I'm going to need to fix that, I think. And I don't know if you guys can see them, but we do have tigers on the right side. So that is one of the habitats for the big cats. And then on the other side, they have jaguars. And so I'm not sure when we'll come back and get those actually built out all nice and pretty. Right now they're just there for mapping the zoo. And I did kind of move that huge climbing structure for the jaguars eventually. It was in my way, I guess more like a line of sight thing. I didn't realize how tall that climbing rig was compared to what I was doing. And so I was deciding to go ahead and put that same elevation into most of the habitat, so it's kind of all even except for right there. I kind of liked the little bit of difference that it had so that they weren't all exactly the same. And I do go back and get rid of some of the cookie cutter look as well on the edges. So I was tired of kind of fighting the traversable area, so I decided to go ahead and just give them, a climbing rig all the way across. So I don't know if they can actually use that climbing rig as close it is to those rocks. But you had people over there too kind of looking across the pass, which I thought was funny. They're 2 paths away telling me that the view of the cougars is terrible from there. Well, walk around, because that's not where you're supposed to be viewing them from. But they do not have a connection directly in through here. They do have a service connection for the employees, but not for guests. You have to walk all the way around to get to them. But anyway, so here we go. We're gonna get rid of some of that repetitiveness and get it to look a little more like it has variation and it's not the same thing over and over and over again, which it was. It was just the basic 2 pillars that I used and copied them to make the walls on the top side. And I kind of like actually how those look a little better than the thicker ones that I made, but I was already committed at this point, so we left it that way. And I went ahead and put them all into one group to make it easier, so to move these around and kind of give it, less of that obvious I copied and pasted over and over and over again look. So that way I could just move them a lot easier. So it's all one group now. But originally they were just the group of 2 as I went around, or I don't know if you noticed how I did that. I would do 1 layer and then group that together and then bring it straight up. And still I was just, I felt like it needed more variation. Maybe I just need to go back through there and delete a couple more of, of the sandwich, so to speak. And I was pretty happy with how it was looking here, so I decided to go ahead and start going around and getting a couple screenshots of the cougars in their habitat, let them walk around, see how they work. So this section is where I do get a couple of funny little moments, and so I was not liking the view right there without having the trees. Also, the guests had been earlier standing over there trying to look through, so I decided we're going to block that off, and I'm going to use a tree line right here, which is kind of what the zoo has. So we're going to go ahead and get this and drop it in and go back to our Cougars once I get this settled and finish off those screenshots and catch that jump I was talking about. They're so serious, these Cougars. I guess they always look that way, but very fierce, and remind me of my Huskies a little bit. They look that way a lot of times too, until they do their big gaping smile. I was looking for the other one, trying to figure out where it went, and he just took off running across the habitat. I was, looking for screenshot opportunities. Good grief, I'm sorry. I thought this was super cute right here with him, using the enrichment, the scratching post here. And I was trying to, get the right angle to get a screenshot, and that was the best I could get. I'm not the best screenshot person all the time. Every once in a while, I do get an amazing one, and I feel like I did get one. Towards the end, I'll show that one. There was one that was just super pretty, and I really enjoyed how that one came out. But watching them to get them is the hard part, I think, for me, as I get bored. It's like, can you do something cool already? So I was messing around with a couple of things. So I moved that other habitat's climbing rig. It was in my pictures, so I was like, I don't really want that in my screenshot. So when I hit play, it's kind of funny. One of them, I guess, was still in the air, and you just couldn't see it. Here we have some wonky climbing happening, but there was a moment where when I hit play, there was a box. It was like, boom, and then it goes into the box and disappears. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I do need to put a couple more plants. They really didn't have a lot of plants in here. They really just kind of had one tree and a couple of bushes towards the front. Oh, there it goes. There's that massive leap. I was like, whoa. It's like, what just happened? I was trying to kind of get an idea of their traversable area originally, and then I was like, forget it. I'll just come over here and get a screenshot of him, because I felt that was a good spot that the cougar was walking in, to get a really pretty screenshot of his habitat and his surroundings. I probably need to bring the wall up a little more. It's not totally realistic that he can't get down from there. And we have this view here from the front, and then our inside viewing, and my amazing shot that I just love. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for watching, and may the RNG odds be ever in your favor.